stop studying. Seriously, stop what you're doing. Because if you're studying the way most students do, you're probably wasting hours, even days, and you don't even know it. You feel productive, you're reading your textbook, highlighting lines, watching lectures, maybe even pulling all-nighters. But here's the truth, you're redoing it all wrong, and you won't realize it until it's too late. Whether you're in high school, college, or preparing for competitive exams, how you study determines whether you succeed or stay stuck in the cycle of forgetfulness, panic, and burnout. But also how to retain more information, study less, and get better results. By the time you finish this video, you'll learn not only how to study the right way. We're going to cover the 3 most common studying mistakes and why they don't work, how your brain actually learns and remembers information. Game-changing techniques used by top-performing students, a full breakdown of how to build a smart, consistent study system, and finally, how to make this a habit that sticks for life, because the truth is, studying isn't about how long you sit at a desk. It's about what your brain holds on to when you walk away from it. Mistake 1. Highlighting and rereading. This might hurt a little because almost everyone does this. Highlighting your book, rereading your notes, rewriting the same things over and over. It feels good. You feel like you're doing something. You know what's coming, but that doesn't make you a director. That doesn't mean you've mastered anything. But here's the science. Rereading and highlighting have an average retention rate of just 10%. That means for every 10 things you try to remember, you're forgetting 9. You load up on coffee, open your books, and start stuffing information into your brain. Why does it feel effective? Because your brain recognizes the information. It's familiar. But that's not understanding. It's not recall. It's like seeing the same movie 5 times. This is called passive learning, and it gives you a false sense of progress. But actually understand and remember the material for months, even years. Mistake 2. Cramming before exams. Raise your hand if this sounds familiar. It's the night before the exam. You haven't studied much. You're panicking. This is called cramming, and it might help you scrape through a test. But it comes with a price. Crammed knowledge is temporary. Why? Because your brain treats it like junk mail. It sees no long-term relevance, so it deletes it after the test. You remember things just enough to survive the next day, and then it's gone. Meanwhile, students who studied smarter using spaced repetition, active recall, and strategic review will not only pass. Mistake 3. Passive consumption. Imagine trying to learn how to drive by watching YouTube videos. You can watch 100 videos, but until you sit behind the wheel, you're not a driver. That's what passive studying looks like. You listen, you watch, you read, but you don't engage. Real learning doesn't happen when you consume information. It happens when you interact with it, when you quiz yourself, when you explain concepts, when you make mistakes and correct them. So if those methods don't work, what does? To find the answer, we need to understand how your brain actually learns. Your brain is designed for survival, not memorization. That's why it forgets things that seem irrelevant and only stores information it believes is important. This is where the concept of desirable difficulty comes in. You learn best when something is challenging but possible, when your brain has to struggle just enough to recall or apply information. This is why retrieval, not review, is the key to retention. We also have to talk about the forgetting curve. Within 1 hour of learning something, you'll forget 50% of it. By the next day, up to 70%. By the end of the week, almost 90% unless you interrupt this curve. This is where spaced repetition, active recall, and self-testing change everything. Chapter 3. The Learning Pyramid. Let me introduce you to something that will change your study life forever. The Learning Pyramid. It's a visual model that shows how well we retain information based on how we study, reading to 10% retention, listening to 20%, watching to 30%, demonstrating, doing 75%, teaching to 90%. The takeaway is simple. The more actively you engage with the material, the more likely you are to remember it. So, if you're only reading your textbook, you're working at the lowest level of retention. But if you start teaching what you learn to others, even if it's just your imaginary student, you're reactivating the highest form of memory. Chapter 4. the right way to study now. Let us break down exactly how to study smarter in 3 proven phases. Phase 1. Active recall. The foundation of smart learning. Active recall is when you test your memory instead of feeding it more information. Instead of rereading a page, close the book and ask yourself, what did I just read? Or, can I explain that in my own words? This makes your brain do the heavy lifting, and that's what builds strong memory. If you struggle, that means you don't fully understand it yet. 2 techniques to try. The Feynman technique is a concept, and try to explain it to a 5-year-old. Go back, relearn it, and try again until you can explain it clearly and simply. Self-testing and flashcards. Use past papers, quizzes, or tools like Anki to quiz yourself regularly. Don't wait until you finish studying to test yourself. Testing is studying. Phase 2. Spaced repetition. Hack your forgetting curve. Spaced repetition is reviewing material over time, at increasing intervals. A simple schedule. Day 1. Learn the concept. Day 3. Quick review. Day 7. Test yourself. Day 14. Teach it. Day 30. Final review. Every time you retrieve the information, you reinforce it and tell your brain, this is important. Keep it.